is, do we let people starve on Guam? No. If you're not making enough money, we give you food stamps. If you're not making enough money when you file out your tax return, you qualify for, who knows, EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit. When you're earning below the poverty line, when you're earning $7.75 an hour, or $7.25 or $7.35, whatever it is, not only do you not pay taxes, but you get extra money back, Earned Income Tax Credit. Do you know where that money comes from? Look in the mirror, brothers and sisters, it comes from you. If you're paying taxes, that money comes from you. So your money, the money that you earn as hardworking citizens, goes to subsidize the profits of this organization. Because one, they don't pay their employees a living wage, and two, how many of you guys knew that these folks don't pay taxes? Did you know that? Yeah. Now, because of the way they set up the qualifying certificate program, now they do pay some taxes. Like some, it depends on their QC. Some get 90%, some get 100%, some get 75% off. But the way they set up the program years ago, it's established as a contract. And the Organic Act of Guam says that no law can be passed to impair an existing contract. So we can't take away the qualifying certificates, which are essentially, we give these to businesses as job subsidies because they're going to create jobs that people can raise a family on. Unfortunately, here we found out that that hasn't worked. It hasn't been successful. You cannot raise a family on what they pay you in one of these hotels. Unless maybe you guys are magical and think that at $7.35 an hour you can raise a family. I couldn't raise a family on that. It's impossible. So what happens is we see this massive drain out of our structure so that we can afford schools. So therefore, what I did is I introduced this concept called a living wage bill. Now, a living wage wasn't invented by me. I wish I was that smart. It was actually invented by Pope Leo XIII, who said it's the government's job to ensure that businesses pay their employees a living wage that they can take care of a family on. Pope Leo XIII was a pretty smart guy, right? Franklin Delano Roosevelt said that any company or any corporation that exists in our country that doesn't pay their employees a living wage should not exist. Now, that being said, if you did it for just one company, it would be unfair competition and they would go out of business because everybody had undercut them. So when we do it as a whole and say, the way my bill says, it says, if you work for a company that receives job subsidies from the government of Guam, i.e. tax breaks, does business with the government of Guam, or rents property from the government of Guam, you have to pay your employees a living wage, which I set at the qualifying level for food stamps for a family of 4, which is about $13.40 an hour, which is also, I think, the minimum wage of San Francisco. And our cost of living is actually higher than San Francisco. Yeah, so living wage, 1. What this would do is it would take, there's approximately 5,000 people work in the hotel industry. And they're not the only ones getting qualifying certificates, mind you. I believe Hard Rock has a qualifying certificate. I believe Kmart does. I believe Home Depot does. So it takes these people that currently are a drain on our public structure because we have to subsidize their income because they're not getting paid enough, and it makes them taxpayers. So instead of paying them money from a public structure, they pay us money. So it's like 2 for 1 on the deal. That's how you build up the economy very quickly. And then all of a sudden these people that are making $7.55 an hour, $7.75 an hour, what do you think they do with their money? Well, economists tell us when we give an extra dollar to a worker, they instantly spend it. It just happens. When you're making $7 an hour and you go up to $8 an hour, do you go, oh boy, I could put this in my Swiss bank account. I could build up my 401k. When you're making $8 an hour, you're like, woohoo! I can drink Budweiser as opposed to the really cheap beer, right? Or maybe I can afford to take my family out to eat. Maybe I can go to a movie. When we give an extra dollar to a worker, it circulates in our economy 10 times because they go and spend it in the economy. Whereas if we give an extra dollar in profits to Daiichi Corporation or whoever happens to own the hotel, most of the time it never even touches our economy. Did you know most of our Japanese tourists buy their packages in Japan? All that money stays at Japan corporate headquarters, and they just send in as little as they have to. So if I give them extra profits, does it stay here and benefit the people of Guam? Not in the least. It stays in Japan and benefits the economy of Japan. Yeah, that's okay for them. But I'm not Japanese. I don't live in Japan. We have to look out for our economy and our families. And we do that by building an economy that works for everybody, just not a select few. I could talk forever on this, but I have a feeling I've already gone over my time limit. So let me give you a chance to ask some questions. First off, thank you so much for having me. And whether you agree or don't agree, get involved in your democracy. Check out my website, www.mattrector.com. There's all kinds of stuff on this. I do my homework, my brothers and sisters. And now, questions. That's it? We're done? Cocktails?
Any questions for the senator?
Yes, sir.
You know, being a staffer in the legislature, I'm very familiar with your bills, and I'm very familiar, I guess, with the goals that you have and the means of which you want to accomplish your goals. My question, though, is, in order to, I guess, reach the goals in the way you want to, you would actually have to gain support from your colleagues.
It's true.
And I was wondering, since we are moving into the second half of the term pretty soon, I was wondering if you had any way that you could advance your agenda in a way that's palatable to your colleagues, so you could achieve some of the goals that you stated.
That's a great question. You know, about a year before I ran... Oh, do we need a mic? You guys couldn't hear me? You guys can hear me, right? Oh, is it? Okay. There we go. You should have told me you couldn't hear me. I got a big mouth. No, that's a good question. Before I ran, I read a book written by a former president, Bill Clinton, called My Life. And it was very interesting. He was governor of Arkansas, right? And when he was governor, he pushed through a few bills that were unpopular. And he lost the next time. And so he thought, man, this isn't right. You know, I did what I thought was right, and I used the political will that I had to push through these bills. And he still lost. So when he came back in the next time, he said, I'm not going to lobby senators. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lobby the populace and make the people lobby senators, because those are the folks that I'm responsible to. And he brought a popular upwelling that forced the change in the legislature of Arkansas, and he got his bills through and became one of the most popular governors ever in the state of Arkansas, and the most successful governors. And you notice our current president does the same thing, President Obama. He's a lobbyist, he's an organizer, he's an activator. When he can't get his stuff through the Congress, he goes out to the people and he makes us do our jobs as citizens. And that's how I'm going to get stuff through. It's to my good colleagues in the legislature, they've been there, most of them, for quite some time, and they've done basically the same thing since I've lived on this island. We have seen our standard of living go like this for the last 20 years.